What a way to segue to go on that one, right?
That's right.
Okay. Oh, let's see. Where are we? Why is it not live? Oh, it is live. Oh, there we are. I
Yep,
found
it's
us. Now I gotta share to everybody. Oh my god, can you hear him?
yeah. I don't know what he's saying, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, crooked.
I might have to go yell at him. I usually say, and he's in his room with the door closed. That's how loud my kid is.
It's all right.
I'm sorry, everybody. My kid is
Mm.
very loud. Yep. Anywho, we are sending it out. Please share. Please share to everybody. If you're
Please.
watching, just share it out. Okay, so basically today's show, we are cutting it short. um,
Not really. That's a really bad
that's a
reference.
really hi Mort. That's a really bad pun right there, but we are going to cut our time a little on the short side today because it is my daughter's 17th birthday and we still haven't had dinner. So we're going to be going to dinner in a little bit. So I
Yes.
told them we'll just cut it short. Hi, Eddie Pitts. I see you. I see you in the chat. I see you.
Chat,
So
chat.
today we're going to be talking about the Black Dahlia,
The Black Dahlia. Yes.
also known as
And
Elizabeth Short.
yes. Born in Massachusetts, July 29th, 1924.
Mm-hmm.
She disappeared January 9th, 1947. Cause of death, homicide. She was a waitress. So basically, this is the Black Dahlia was actually a name that was given to her after she actually was found in 1947. It was the way that she was found and the brutality to the way she was found. And in that time, it wasn't uncommon for your newspapers to name things. And in this situation, when they found her, they named her the Black Dahlia as part of their newspaper articles and so forth. This is still an unsolved crime from 1947. They don't have any real evidence leading to anyone's. Do you want to put a picture up of
Yep.
what she looks like? And again, this is Elizabeth Short, is her name. Now, there was some theory or uh, where people said that she had come to California or Hollywood to be an actress and whatnot. That's actually a myth. There is actually no record of her actually having anything to do with any acting or casting in anything. She was actually in California because her parents were divorced and her
Yeah.
father lived in California.
Right.
So, but the way that her body was found, she was found mutilated, bisected. If you don't know what that means, she was cut in half at the waist, basically with a smile carved into her face. Um, it's just a very, very, yeah, just a very, very bad, sad
So
situation.
yeah, so she based if this will come off my screen. The way they cut the smile was from the corner of her mouth to up to her ears. And when I was reading that, it reminded me of how the Joker would have
Joker.
smiled.
Yes.
So so I kind of wonder too, is like, did they get, where did they get that smile from? Where Hollywood comes up with some of these. But it is exactly, if you look at this picture, you can see how her she's cut, and she kind of looks like the Joker there. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
does.
I could be a little morbid too. I don't know. Um, but yeah.
So I don't really know why so the way she was found was by a mother that was taking a walk with her 3-year-old in a stroller, and they were walking down just a sided path and thought what they saw was a mannequin
Right.
out there, and turned out to be the nude body of Elizabeth Short in half. I mean, you could just
Yeah, they
imagine.
weren't they in a park? It was a park that I forget what park it was, but they were in a. It was an actual
Oh, I
park
can probably tell you.
that they were in.
I have all kinds of here. Yeah, I think that's
But
the
that's how she was found. So as you can see, the way this looks, it looks like pieces of a mannequin,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
really, really, really gruesome because, I mean, to drain the blood, I mean, literally, they said all her blood was drained from her body. So
There
it's
was
like, what
no
did?
blood on the scene at all. There was no blood.
So it's like, what did they use to drain her blood out of her body?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you got to think, what did they put under her too? Because it would have absorbed in the ground a little bit, you would think, if they didn't have anything under her. It's just it's a weird whole weird.
It
I
really
mean,
is.
look at how like precise, if you can see it. It's pretty precise on how they cut her. That the person who murdered her had to know medical.
Right.
That's what
Mhm.
I would think, to be, or like, what is it? The mortician, is that what it is? The people
Yeah,
who
like
work with
you're
dead
in your
bodies.
mortuaries
Yeah,
and stuff.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, like who do
like,
autopsies, but usually they don't even go to that extreme. But yeah,
no, no. So it's like, where did all that blood in
butcher.
her body? Because you have a lot of blood. Let's see how much blood a human body holds. Um, I was gonna look it up,
So
but I
while you're
can't.
looking that up, they identified her by her fingerprints
Oh yeah,
and a yeah, and they got a hit, and they were able to identify her because she was in the system. She was arrested for underage drinking in 1943. So that's how they got a hit on her. That and some kind of fax machine, forerunner to the fax machine. I don't know what that means.
yeah. It was like the early stages of a fax machine.
Like your photos or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So the human body has a roughly around 10 pints of blood.
That's a lot.
That is a
I
lot.
mean, if you think about that, I mean, I know blood's thicker than liquids per se, but if you think about it in alcohol sense, in if you can't, because if you're bad at math like I am, 10 pints, I'm like, oh my God, that is so, and it is. But I'm thinking like football length, football field
But
length.
if you think of the blood bags that they do
Yes,
infusions with, that's a pint of blood.
that's only a
So
pint.
if
Okay.
you think of 10 of those, that's how much blood you have going through your body, like circulating in your body. So yeah, I mean, where did it all go? That's what I want to know. And how did they drain it from her body?
I have no clue.
And it didn't say. And then, I mean, when I was researching, it didn't talk about that, like any of that, where all that went.
Well,
you
they don't
know.
know. She was
Right.
drained.
You can, I mean, you can see here, it looks, you can see them looking like they almost took off her whole, where hers,
I'm glad you put that picture up because what I'm reading right now, it's talking about how they got her name. And not only was her name really, when they named her after her death, about her jet black hair, but it was also about the fact that she wore black all the time.
yeah.
So
And
when
they,
they
and
found her, she was in all black as well.
right. And one thing that I did read was, they also she had a rose tattoo and they cut that off of her and stuck it up her hoo ha. I
Rough.
mean, and
I did
then
not read
another and then
that.
another thing I read was that she was tortured before they cut her. They found fecal matter in her stomach, which means that she would have had to eat poop. So they did disgusting things to her before they cut her in half. Isn't that gross?
Well,
That's gross.
that is so gross. I did not read that.
Yeah.
I did not read that, but I mean, people are sick. I mean, there's just so many wrong people in the world.
Well, it is. And I mean, but so basically, that it is one of the top 10 unsolved mysteries, and I'm still baffled by that. Nowadays with all the technology we have,
DNA. I mean, evidently there
why are
must have been
they
no DNA, or the cops back then didn't know what they should be collecting for.
right? But it
Or
was in 1947, so it's not like it was that long ago.
yeah, but
But
you didn't
80
got to
years.
remember, you
I
did
mean, it's 80 years
DNA
ago,
didn't come
but
for 50 years after that. But I mean,
yeah,
even in the 70s, when they would get, murders and stuff, they would know to, I mean, like the BTK, killer, like they knew to collect certain things for the hopes that maybe later it would be worth something, which in that instance it was. But yeah, you would think with all the genealogy stuff that they're using these days to try to catch a lot of, or solve a lot of these cold case criminals, like the Golden State Killer, that's how they caught him. And
right.
uh, things like that, you would think that by now they would have some other kind of suspects, but they did. Some people linked to this case to the Cleveland torso murders. When Short's death became national news, police officers in Cleveland felt an awful sense of deja vu between 1934 and 1938. A serial killer had terrorized their city, claiming 12 victims, all of whom were dismembered grotesquely. Some theorized that the Ohio serial killer, and Short's murderer could be the same person, especially since, like Short's killer, the perpetrator of what came to be known as the Cleveland torso murders was never caught. So there's other victims similar to
Right.
this, but there's no evidence to do anything about
So were
anything.
they a copycat then to this one?
See, I read somewhere it was about Lawrence, somebody named Lawrence.
Well, they did say one of the articles I read earlier today. They were saying that she could have been murdered by more than one person. Like it was a group of men, specifically like three. They did arrest these three at one point because they were on the suspect list, but then had to let them go because there wasn't enough evidence to prove that it was them. But they're saying that the reason that they may have killed her is because she knew of a crime that they committed, and basically the crimes that they committed were they were robbing hotels in the area from the jewelry. So they would pretend to be bellhops at nighttime, figure out where the safe was with all the jewels and money in it, and then a couple days later, the guy would quit, and then they would go and rob the place. And she was possibly dating one of them and overheard their conversation, so they killed her. That's one theory.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like the way that she was killed seemed almost personal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of deep. So for it just to be a killing because you heard something, I don't feel like it would have
Well,
gone down.
that's she was. Yeah, it said that she was dating one of the guys. She was dating them. So, but then another one I heard was that that she was sleeping around with a lot of guys too. So she was
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
had
a
heard that
hooker.
as well.
You
Yeah,
know, so
I had heard that
I
as
read
well.
that theory. So it's like
Yes.
there's all these little tiny theories, but none settled on exactly why she was murdered. And then my
So
brother-in-law was just here and told me that there's an actual band here in Michigan that's called the Black Dahlia Murderers, a
nice.
music band. I was
I can
like,
only
all
imagine what
right.
kind of music they play.
They look
Um,
like heavy rock people, long hair, you
yeah.
know. I don't know. I was like, that's just weird.
So it was also connected to a lipstick murder. 1 month after Short's murder, another woman's body was discovered in Los Angeles, and the circumstances mimicked the Black Dahlia's case in a few ways. It all began with a stranger, in this case, a construction worker, stumbling upon the naked body of a dead woman in the grass. But
So,
Elizabeth Short. Oh, and they took lipstick and on her stomach typed the word F-U,
right.
and below that put the letters T-E-X
Here's Ace's comment.
with lipstick.
Do I need to be
I was
worried?
going to say because,
But
like,
that is
I know, really. If you have watched the Dahmer series or whatever on one of the stream channels does it, and one of the things that he does is he gets the bot or the roadkill or whatever and takes it into. Well, he was actually draining bodies in there, and yeah, and it was, and he would even say that it cleaned up well. So
yeah.
yeah.
Ace
Hello,
used to be
Tony.
a taxidermist, so he knows thing or two about that.
I totally, yeah. I mean, I could so see where if you had the, oops, sorry, I kicked it with my knee. If you had the right, means, I mean, I don't think you would be able to get away with it in just your standard bathtub. I feel like you would need some kind of almost kind of like like a shop tub or something. I mean, unless you live alone, there's no way. I mean, if you've ever
But
tried to clean up,
if right, yeah, that's gross. Oh,
no, I'm like, okay, so
but blood can stay in a surface a crack forever. If you're not cleaning it properly. I
right,
mean, look at what with the ultraviolet lights, you can detect it for eons and
luminol,
eons.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there was one time when my husband had surgery and he had somehow got a wound open and it was literally squirting blood. It was so
Mm-hmm.
gross, disgusting. We had him. I mean, let me tell you, maxi pads aren't just for women. I had like all these maxi pads covering it, and there was still blood everywhere. My daughter comes up from her bedroom and is like, "Oh my God, what did you do to him? Like, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "I didn't do anything." Yeah, so,
it's like that movie, The Misery.
yes, and I was in there trying to clean it up, and all I was doing was smearing it and making it worse.
Yeah.
It is so hard. My whole point of this story is that it's so hard to clean up blood. It's not easy job to do.
No. I know we had a dog when growing up. He bit the end of his tail off, and then it was everywhere, all over the wall, because that was gross. And it was like, yeah, you miss spots. Like, it's not easy cleaning up, that's for sure. But I couldn't I mean he makes a good point. It was probably done somewhere else and then moved if there was
Oh, well,
nothing
sure.
found, but that would have been like, okay, how did they do the investigation then? What were they looking for? You know, did they go into these people's homes, the ones that were on the high suspect list? Did they go into their homes and look around?
Who knows? But
They
they did
might.
have many people confess to the crime.
Yeah.
The LAPD had to rule out many suspects in the investigation, including several people who turned themselves in. Though some sources quote a lower number, the Los Angeles Times puts the tally of false confession in Short's case of that of about 500. Why would you confess to a murder you didn't really do? I mean, was it really that big in its time that you wanted to be so associated with it that you would confess to doing it?
Right.
Said phony claims came from housewives, clergymen, soldiers, drunk ramblers, and much later pranksters who weren't even alive when Short's life was brutally taken.
One of the suspects, Leslie Dillon, and that is a dude, not a female. He was probably one of their main suspects, and the reason he was let go is because of all these other claims that people were saying. But what I read on one article was that he had information about the murder that the police officers were not indulging to the public. They were not letting it out. It was so he knew things that they didn't express. So that was one of the reasons. But they had to let him go because of all these other dead end.
Yeah, there were several that they brought in for questioning in relation and given polygraph tests. George Hodel is one of the most notorious suspects. One of those names is, or he was a physician who ran a venereal disease clinic in Los Angeles in the 40s. He was on a list of 6 primary suspects. And they even bugged his home during the investigation. He died in 1999, gained more recent notoriety with his son, Stephen Hodel, who accused him of killing Short in a 2003 best-selling book. He claims that handwriting matches strange letters the police received, supposedly from the killer. What is up with all these killers that want to... I just watched the BTK thing today, and he was so upset about other people taking credit for his work. He started writing them letters, and what is up with that? Like, even in the Jack the Ripper thing, like,
Yeah.
they just want notability. They want nobody else to take credit.
Well, because I mean, it's how you get famous, I guess.
Well, this Steve
and
character,
look at we're still talking about it 80 years later.
right? Well, this Steve character claims that his father, that he uncovered photos of a woman who resembles Short in his father's personal photo album, and believes with his medical background that would explain the clinical cuts on her body.
Right.
But others have discounted claims that he's made. He's also claimed that his father was the Zodiac killer too. So
I saw that. Yeah. Terrible.
Yep, Leslie Dillon, a bellhop. Buzz Williams, a retired officer. Yeah, I mean, it's just sad that this far out. I mean, we're in 2023 now. You would think by now. I didn't find anything about whether they're actually looking for anyone still or not, or if this has just turned cold. And
I'm wondering. I mean, I'm unless somebody reopens the case. I mean, most of these people are probably dead and gone themselves.
right.
I mean, you
And who knows how it was handled police wise.
right.
They have made movies on this. There is references to it in quite a few different shows that are on TV. Um,
Because it was 76 years ago that this happened. So you got to figure these people are probably in their 20s. So if they're still alive, they're approaching 100.
right. So the odds are
you
very
know,
slim.
so
But yeah, I mean, just a young girl living her life, doing what she's supposed, regardless of whether she was sleeping with people or whatever she was doing, nobody deserves to die, and nobody definitely deserves to die like that. So I don't know what the
I wonder too. Okay, so I might go a little off topic here, but I was thinking about this earlier when I was doing the research, and I was like, okay, so we're in the paranormal field, and you got all these people who claim to be mediums and psychic mediums, and um, where they and I've seen them. I've seen the posts where they help cold cases. They help police officers locate, their victims, because they've tapped into the spiritual world. And it's like, where are those people? Where aren't they like trying to help solve these unsolved mystery cases?
yeah,
I
and
thought about. I'm like, okay, like what? Like I don't know. It made me wonder. I thought about that. I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, that kind of stuff only really surfaces on occasion, really. I mean, I don't know. A lot of the shows that I watch don't really make, some of them do make reference to psychics coming forward and saying they've gotten a vision about this and that or whatever. But most of the shows I watch don't have that. So I think it
Right.
happens. That doesn't happen as much as as people think that it might. But I agree. Like, where are these psychics that, like,
I mean, I
maybe it's
don't know
because they're
why
not
that
getting
thought.
paid.
I don't know why that thought popped in my head earlier today when I was at work, but I was like, where are they helping solve some of these unsolved mystery cases? Because I've seen the people who say they literally go out and they help the detectives and their profilers and whatever else they call themselves. I don't know. And I'm like, where are you? Why aren't you trying to solve these cases?
Well, there's a lot. I was just getting ready to say Ace. There's a lot of, I wasn't going to say it like that, but that really does kind of sum it up. Right. I mean, you're not going to hear about a lot of that if they really are working behind law enforcement. It's the ones that are the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs that are, I don't know. I feel like if you have the talent and the gift, I've just met a lot also that are all about the money too. So
Yeah.
if you're not going to pay them for whatever services they supposedly render, then they're not going to do it. So, but yeah, I totally agree. I feel like some of them should come forward or tune in, and maybe cases like this could be solved. Or I
Right.
also
Because
believe
that's just
that,
like, you got
go
to
ahead.
wonder too, is she a restless spirit now? Because of the way that she perished, was taken from this earth. Like, is she at rest? Would we ever know that? Probably not. But you'd want to think that even her family, because I'm sure people that are related to her would want some kind of, you know, closure to her murder.
Well, her mother lived in Florida and her
Right.
father was the one that lived in California. So she ended up settling in California. So when this happened, her mother came in from Florida and was just a wreck and devastated.
Right.
And I don't
I don't,
really know the background between that
I was gonna
relationship.
say I don't remember if she had siblings or not. I don't remember reading that.
I don't remember reading that either.
But
Could probably find out. I had an article up that was
I don't see anything that says she had any siblings.
her mother coming. But it's just a sad. She's buried at the Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland, California. And it was established in 1863. So if you're ever out
Okay,
in
so I was
Oakland,
gonna say, do you think as paranormal investigators, because a lot of people do go to cemeteries, do you think that's one you'd want to go investigate? Is like her,
for
you know?
sure. And we've talked about this before. Wasn't there another one that we said that we should start making a visit to the graves of these places? What was the other one?
I don't remember.
We were like,
Probably.
oh, yeah, we should go look at that one. I forget who we were talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know it was. What was our first topic about? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to look it up on YouTube. We'll follow our channel.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
So anyway, it's a very rural cemetery in Oakland. So if you're ever in Oakland, that is where the Black Dahlia is buried. They are a not-for-profit cemetery, which is interesting.
So where did the name Dahlia come from? Like I know the black part is because she had black hair and black, but where'd that come
Or
from?
dahlias are flowers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, when I was researching this, and the Black Dahlia, actually, the flower. Let me look it up real quick. I had that looked up earlier.
Yeah, I see. A said it's a flower. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a flower, but it's not a good flower. It's hang on, I'm trying to find the
Yeah,
the
I would hope at
meaning
least she's at rest.
for sure. I'm looking it up. It means betrayal and sadness.
Oh,
Black dahlias aren't truly black, but rather a very deep shade of crimson. They symbolize betrayal and sadness, so should be gifted lightly. Most notably, they're associated with the infamous murder of Elizabeth Short in 1947.
okay. So she's got a flower named after her. Very cool. Well, that's interesting because I didn't even look that up, but I was like, why did they call her that? Well, what's
Yeah.
funny is my son knew when you mentioned it last time when we said what our next topic was, and he's like, "Oh my God, Mom, I know that," and I'm like, "How do you know that? You're 14."
Yeah, and it
Because of
does
the
say,
movie.
yeah, it does say here that genuinely, dahlias are meant for joy. The only one that is considered not so great is the black one, which isn't really black,
But it's crimson, which would be the color of your blood, because blood isn't really red. Do you know that? It's
I didn't know
actually
that.
blue. It's actually blue. But once the
Once
oxygen
it
hits
hits
blood,
oxygen, yeah.
yep, it gets that red color, which I think is interesting too. I like science. I really like
Same,
science.
same.
If I was smart enough, I'd be in the medical field, but I'd probably be like, I've always wanted to be a physical therapist, but then I kind of like the human body, so I I would take a growth anatomy class just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I'm not so much into that. I would probably pass out. Although I have a lot of tattoos, you would not know that I have a needle phobia, and I don't like to be anything involving, like I've already had 3 cavities filled without being numbed because I refuse to let them shoot me in the mouth with that needle. So
Oh, girl.
Yeah.
I cry just going to the dentist's office because I have such anxiety because of the drilling. I don't know how. Oh, you just made my whole mouth hurt just saying that.
Well,
Like
hopefully it's something dinner can fix for you.
I can't even imagine getting my teeth. Like literally he has to numb me 3 times before they can drill on my teeth or do anything. Off subject. Yeah, blue jay feathers are not blue, they're brown. But they
Okay.
give a hue of a blue color.
That's kind of cool.
Ace knows his birds and
He
his
really does.
flowers, and he's a nature boy.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm telling you, if we ever get stuck in where we have, I'm with the right human being. That's all I got to say.
I know. I always call my husband a Boy Scout. Like the dude can
he,
survive anywhere. So I'm
yeah,
definitely the right person too.
like he could tell you what food, what branches you can eat, what you what bark you can eat, what you can't eat, and what plants, yeah, poisonous to you and whatnot. Yeah, I'm with
So
the
if you
right
end up
human
off the
being.
grid anytime soon, then Ace has got your back.
Right. I got me my survival buddy. Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
that's for
So
sure.
what are we covering next month? Or
No, in 2 weeks.
not next month, 2 weeks.
I believe it's the 20th. Yes, Thursday the 20th. We're going to talk about the Muffin Man. Yay! There is a dark side
The
to the
Muffin
Muffin
Man?
Man. How to get
How
rid of bodies.
that or have a pig
Oh,
farm, just saying.
hey, that's a way to get rid of bodies.
I've heard. I don't know. I've just heard it. But
I've
yeah,
heard
the
it.
Muffin
I've
Man.
heard it by many. So I'm gonna go with that's how you can. Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about the Muffin Man. It's a nursery rhyme. I'm sure you guys have all heard it. Growing up, but there's a dark side to it. So that's the subject we are going to be talking about in 2 weeks. So
Yes.
until then, you guys have you guys have a happy Easter if you celebrate. It is Easter weekend. We have a first birthday party this weekend, so we're excited for that. Bacon, yeah, bacon's good. Bacon's very good, actually. Thanks. Now I want bacon.
Yeah, right. All right.
Anywho,
I
all right,
will
you guys.
see. Okay. Oh, and happy birthday to your daughter. You guys have a good dinner.
Oh yes, 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 yes. She is very hungry. They've already peeped out a couple times and they're like, "Are you done yet?" Anywho, yes, thank you. Happy
Yes.
Easter, happy birthday to everybody who's celebrating in April, And you guys have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.